안녕하십니까.
Good morning, ladies and
제1회
gentlemen.
다목적 방사선
Welcome
가속기
to the
국제
first
컨퍼런스에
international
참석해
conference on
주신
multipurpose
여러분
synchrotron
환영합니다.
radiation source.
저는 오늘
I
컨퍼런스의
am
사회를
the
맡은
MC of today's conference. My name is
기획부장
Sang-mi from the
조상미입니다.
KBSI.
충청북도와 청주시가 주최하고
This conference is jointly sponsored by the Ministry of Science and ICT, Chungcheongbuk-do, and Cheongju City, and hosted by the KBSI. It has been prepared to propose the future direction for development of the fourth generation GSR and share diverse opinions from experts from home and abroad. And this is why it is very meaningful. At today's conference, it is being held under the theme of Feast of Lights, Illuminating the World. We have 3 keynote speeches given by 3 renowned speakers and experts, and a panel discussion will follow. In the afternoon, there are 3 sub-sessions in bio, nanomaterials, and policy. This conference is being streamed live on the Chungcheongbuk-do YouTube channel due to the COVID-19 inflicted restrictions on gatherings. So we look forward to your participation until the afternoon session. Before we begin with the conference, let me introduce the distinguished guests who are gracing the event with their presence. We have with us Mr. Song Il-hong, the Vice Governor for Economic Affairs of Chungcheongbuk-do. We have Mr. Go In-soo, the Director of Pohang Accelerator Laboratory. Mr. Chung Cho-si, the Director of Chungbuk Research Institute, is here. We have Mr. Song Jae-bin, the Director of Chungbuk Technopark. Thank you for your participation. Due to time constraints, we are not able to introduce all the distinguished guests. We ask for your understanding on this matter. So as an opening of today's conference, we have President Shin Hyung-sik of the KBSI. He will deliver his opening remarks. Please give him a big round of applause.
Hello, I'm Shin Hyung-sik, President of the Korea Basic Science Institute. I sincerely welcome every one of you who are taking time out of your busy schedule to be part of this first international conference on multipurpose synchrotron radiation source despite pandemic situation. I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to Director Steven Stripper from Argonne National Laboratories, Director Dasia Ishikawa from RSC, and Professor Kim Kwang-jae from University of Chicago for sharing keynote presentations. My special thanks also go to Vice Governor Song Il-hong and Director Go In-soo from Pohang Accelerator Laboratory, a member of National Assembly Kwon Jae-il for gracing this event. As you're well aware, KBSI and Chungcheongbuk-do Province have been working together to build the synchrotron radiation source for more than 10 years, since 2008. In May last year, Ochang was selected as a site, and in April it successfully completed feasibility study. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to express my sincere thanks to Governor Lee Si-jong and National Assembly Member Kwon Jae-il and our staff members who made this possible. What remains is to select institutions with the capability and infrastructure to build and operate accelerator and to realize world-best facilities. Synchrotron Radiation Accelerator is a humongous research facility to understand the structure of various substances and to analyze changes in physical properties. It is a state-of-the-art facility that is essential for research and industry sectors. to secure upper hand in technology competitions. Ochang Accelerator is designed to emit 100 times brighter light compared to Pohang third generation, so that it will play essential functions like oasis in science and technologies to address technical barriers to export to advanced countries like Japan, and to fight against the new infectious disease such as COVID-19. In this sense, from the planning stage, tentative name was Ochang Advanced Synchrotron for Industry and Science, OASIS. OASIS has three functions. First and foremost, it should be the facility for both research and industry support. Up until today, it was not easy for companies to use accelerators. Therefore, OASIS is working to offer 30% of beam lines exclusively to businesses. Second, we aim for world-best accelerators. OASIS will respond to various demands by providing 4 GeV electron volt picometer class emittance. Third is to nurture professionals to build and operate accelerators and to utilize beam lines. Ladies and gentlemen, currently Korea's science and technology is at an important turning point to become first mover. I sincerely hope that OASIS can solve the thirst in the scientific world. For the success of OASIS, we ask for your generous support. KBSI will also continue work together with relevant organizations such as Ministry of Science and ICT and Chungcheongbuk-do Province and Pohang Accelerator Laboratories. Once again, I'd like to send my sincere thanks to every one of you for being with us today. I hope we can have a meaningful discussions. Thank you.
Thank you for the remarks, President Shin. Next, we have Vice Governor Song Il-hong, who is sparing no effort in supporting this initiative. He will give his congratulatory remarks. Please give him a big round of applause. Hello, everyone. I am Song Il-hong, Vice Governor for Economic Affairs. Honorable scientists and engineers, distinguished guests from home and abroad, I am very delighted to meet you all. I would like to congratulate the first international conference on multipurpose synchrotron radiation source. I would also like to thank President Shin Hyung-sik of the KBSI and the organizers for arranging today's conference. My gratitude is extended to Director Ko In-soo of Pohang Accelerator Laboratory, Chairperson Kim Hyun-jung, and all the distinguished guests, in particular the speakers from overseas who had to participate via online due to the pandemic. It is true that despite Korea's rapid economic growth, Korea has remained for a long time in the follower type of R&D system in the field of science and technology. Such a situation always poses a threat to the industrial environment, and as a matter of fact, the Korean economy has faced a major crisis, especially in the material field. And through this synchrotron, we must achieve and gain the international competitive edge. The MSRS will have 100 times brighter light than the third generation one, and this will be overcoming the limitations of the existing ones and also share roles with the existing synchrotrons. In this regard, we are going to share a lot of best use cases from abroad, and I hope it will serve as an opportunity to establish the vision and status of the MSRS. I would like to thank once again all the distinguished guests from home and abroad for taking your time today. Thank you very much.
부지사님 감사드립니다.
Thank you very much, Vice Governor.
포항 가속기 연구소
Next,
고인수
we
팀장님께서 축사를
will have Director of Pohang Accelerator Laboratory, Mr. Ko In-soo. Please give him a big round of applause. I'm Ko In-soo from Pohang Accelerator Laboratory. Today, at this first international conference, it is a great honor to stand here to deliver my congratulatory remarks. I would like to express my gratitude to Director Shin Hyung-sik of the KBSI for giving me this opportunity. And as a person working in the same field, I would like to thank the Ministry of ICT for the bold decision in this new investment in Chungcheongbuk-do and Cheongju City, who promised to invest a considerable size of land and supplementary facilities in building the new synchrotron in Ochang. I would like to extend my congratulations to Representative Byun Jae-il, Governor Lee Si-jong of Chungcheongbuk-do, and Mayor Han Bum-deok of Cheongju City, who have worked long and hard to attract the synchrotron facility. Personally, I am delighted to have a new collaborator in user-supporting projects that PLS has been carrying out alone, which was built almost 30 years ago and has upgraded its performance in between. The new fourth-generation storage ring is being designed to provide bigger and more powerful lights than the one in Pohang, thereby providing better R&D opportunities for many scientists and industries in Korea. And as a person working in the field of accelerator construction for a long time, above all, a pivotal achievement through this project will be the opportunity of developing the young and competent resources into future experts. Ever since the construction of PLS, accelerators such as Cheongju Proton Accelerator, Heavy Ion Accelerator, Baryon Accelerator, and Pohang PAL XFEL have been built or under construction. The basic design of the MSRS has been improved by about 100 times compared to the existing PLS-2. The performance of a synchrotron was improved by 1,000 times every 20 years, and by the end of the 2000s, the third-generation synchrotron saw its golden age. Time passed again from then, and starting from the Swedish Max 4 in 2016, the era of fourth-generation storage ring has begun. Now, Sirius of Brazil and ESRF EBS of the EU have been added to the list, and together with HEPS of China, APSU of USA, and Spring 8-2 of Japan, construction of 4GSR here in Ochang will begin soon. However, the leap we take forward this time will see a performance increase of 100 times rather than 1,000 times. This implies that advancements in the level of physical design and technological development of parts are difficult. It could be compared to an automobile fuel efficiency improving 100 times, or the communication speed of a mobile phone becomes 100 times faster. So have you ever felt such technological advancements in your experience? I believe this is considered to be comparable to the development of the integration of memory semiconductors and computing power of supercomputers. The characteristics of a synchrotron is that the technological development in the field of materials developed through research endeavors by the users is again used to manufacture the parts. It has an ideal structure where technological progress creates a virtuous cycle. The MSRS is built here and it uses permanent magnets as dipole magnets, and unlike the case of Pohang, it operates electrically. In some cases, superconducting electromagnets will also be used, and with sufficient amount of R&D, high-temperature superconducting wires could be also used. What I look forward in the future of MSRS is the field of bioscience. In particular, the technology to cope with large-scale epidemic like now is in desperate need. The research subjects and ripple effects it may bring about are also vast. Only a handful of advanced countries have secured their places in this field at the moment, and we must take our place in this rank at all rates. In this endeavor, synchrotron will play a key role. The synchrotrons in Pohang and Ochang of Cheongju City are undoubtedly important research equipment that will lead the future of Korea. I hope that we advance and compete together to make the future of our country brighter, as the expression we often use for synchrotrons. Thank you.
I'd like to extend my sincere thanks once again to Director Go for sparing time. Last but not least, we are going to invite National Assembly member Hyun Jae-il. He delivered his messages through video. Hello, I'm Hyun Jae-il, the member of the Democratic Party of Korea. My constituency is Chungcheongbuk-do, Cheongju City. I'd like to sincerely congratulate you on hosting the first international conference on multipurpose synchrotron radiation source, which is held first under the theme of enlightening the world. I'd like to thank President Shin Young-sik of KBSI and all those involved in the preparation of the event. In addition, I'd like to express my gratitude to the keynote speakers who will introduce international research trend in relation to establishment of Ochang multipurpose synchrotron radiation source at this conference, and to the experts who will provide prospect for the use of such facilities. At the end of April, the preliminary feasibility study of Ochang multipurpose synchrotron radiation source project was successfully concluded. As a result, the basic design will be completed by 2023 as originally planned, and if the construction is completed by 2027, full-scale operation of the facility will initiate in 2028. During the preliminary feasibility study, the total project budget increased from 998 billion won to 1.04 trillion won, making it possible to add substantiality to the project. The Ochang multipurpose synchrotron radiation source is more meaningful because it was planned with emphasis on industrial applications. In a situation where it is urgent to secure technological power in related industry through localization of materials, parts, and equipment, the role of Ochang's MSRS is highly anticipated. In particular, due to the recent shortage of automotive semiconductors, automobile production is delayed and even some production lines are stopped. It is often said that semiconductors are the rise of industry, but I think today, more than any other time, I feel the importance of semiconductors. If semiconductors are the rise of industry and food for the present, multipurpose synchrotron radiation source can be said to be rice paddy that cultivate new food for the future, including next-generation semiconductors, new materials, bio display, and a new drug. In this regard, I'd like to ask you to gather your wisdom and ideas so that the future industry of Korea can achieve more innovative results. Your valuable opinions will be the key to Korea's future competitiveness. From my part, I will do my best to ensure that multipurpose synchrotron radiation source is built in time, and Chungcheongbuk can stand tall as a world factory of high-tech business in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Representative Pyun. This will conclude the opening ceremony, and we will now have a commemorative group photo. The distinguished guests and the panelists, please come up to the stage for a group photo session. For those of you joining us live on YouTube, please enjoy the promotional video, and we will start with the keynote speeches in 5 minutes. On multipurpose synchrotron radiation source, we have 3 keynote speeches from 3 experts from abroad. They're joining us online due to the COVID-19 situation. We will start with Director Steven Striefer at the Argonne National Laboratory. His subject is on challenges in building and operating large fourth-generation X-ray facilities. He is joining us on Zoom.
센터장님은 1993년
Director Striefer
스탠포드 유니버시티에서
has a PhD from Stanford University in 1993 on material science and engineering. And since 1998, he is working in the Argonne National Laboratory. Since 2020, he is a director of the Advanced Photon Source. As soon as we're ready, we will start with a keynote speech. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you very much. It's a very enormous honor to be here today to share with you some of our experiences from the Advanced Photon Source, both in challenges in operating a very large synchrotron radiation facility, particularly one that has both a very strong scientific base of users, but also serves a very strong industrial user base. And I'd also like to share with you some of the lessons we've learned as we embark on upgrading the Advanced Photon Source to be a fourth generation source as well, a project that we're about halfway through. And finally, I'd like to share some practical advice that we've learned within the United States about how to build such large facilities, which really does require collaboration across the entire institutions that are in a nation to be able to make such complex facilities. And in particular, the Advanced Photon Source is one of 5 facilities in the US that provides synchrotron radiation funded by the US Department of Energy. And it's the collaboration among these 5 sources that has made the US, we think, very successful in this field. So first, let me just say that I'm honored to be included on this occasion. It is really a fabulous testament to Korea's commitment to science and technology that you're embarking on the construction of this wonderful new 4th generation synchrotron radiation facility. I think it will be a very important contributor to Korea's place in the international scientific and technology landscape and increase Korea's economic and scientific competitiveness. And on behalf of all of my colleagues here in the United States and on the US Department of Energy, I offer our sincerest congratulations on the nation's decision to move forward with construction of the 4th generation storage ring as part of the international community of X-ray light sources. And we look forward to partnering with Korea on this front as we move forward. So let me turn now to some of the scientific areas that are important for synchrotron radiation, and in particular can draw in the industrial community and help advance the economic competitiveness of a nation. So there are a number of different areas that are represented on this slide from current research at the APS, all of which will be greatly enhanced by the much, much brighter light, the hundreds of times brighter light that's produced by 4th generation storage rings. And this goes from all the way from understanding how proteins in the human body work to research that allows us to design better materials that can be used in all sorts of applications, including the automotive industry, as well as in advanced electronic devices. Very importantly, research on biology that allows us to treat diseases, including the very, very devastating COVID-19 pandemic, which I'll say a few more words about on the next slide. Work that we're doing as well includes research on materials that are used for clean energy production, perhaps the greatest challenge that mankind faces right now as we see the climate change impact the world in ways that are very devastating, both to mankind and to all species on the face of the planet. And the combination of all of these things, being able to bring together not only man-made materials, but have those work in the way that we think of as typical biological systems, is another area that's very important for synchrotron radiation studies, and one that will also be advanced by 4th generation studies. One object lesson that I would leave you with is that the aims of the industrial user community that comes to light sources are very different from the scientists and the engineers who come from academia to use the light sources. And in particular, our experience at the APS has been that it's very important to keep in mind that industry does not come to do an X-ray experiment, a synchrotron light experiment. They come to do an experiment that will allow them to answer some question that allows them to achieve the technology goals of their company. And that requires a dedicated community of scientists that can work with industry users to ensure that their needs are served, even in the event where they themselves, the industry users, are not experts in synchrotron radiation. Another aspect of this is, in addition to the synchrotron radiation techniques that are present at the synchrotron facility, the beamlines, it's also very important to make sure to provide other capabilities, the laboratories that allow sample preparation other types of characterization, and other types of work that must go hand in glove with the work that's done in the beamline so that one can get a full picture of the scientific nature of the problem that one is trying to explore. Turning now to the very, very devastating COVID-19 pandemic, another important aspect that has been a lesson that we've learned in the US, and I'm sure something that Korea is very familiar with. It's important not only to build the facility, it's important to fund the facility for operations in a way that allows it to be successful and to achieve excellence. As many of you will be aware, vaccines for the COVID-19 pandemic are now being rolled out around the world and are one of the keys to ending the terrible, terrible toll that the pandemic has taken on mankind. And I look forward again to the day when the pandemic ends and I could actually be there to join you in person for such an auspicious occasion as we're experiencing today. The vaccines themselves were actually developed very quickly in the United States and in other parts of the world over a very, very short period of time in the beginning of calendar year 2020. Literally from the time the genetic sequence of the virus was determined and released to the time that there were candidate vaccines that were being tested for efficacy was only a matter of weeks. So that sounds quite amazing, but it's actually important to realize that that was based on research that in some cases had been done at the Advanced Photon source going back more than a decade. Scientists from the United States National Institutes of Health going back into 2009 had been researching how to develop vaccines for other viruses that they then realized in about 2013 could be applied to coronaviruses. And actually they did work on both the original SARS virus as well as the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome coronavirus. And that work led directly to the development of the vaccines in 2020. And also we hope eventually to antivirals. It will be another tool in the arsenal to combat the pandemic in addition to vaccines. So as you can see from this slide, it's not just the instantaneous development that is always so amazing in science, but the sustained investment in science and technology over a decade that positions us to make those breakthroughs that to the public seem like such miracles that science brings to their life. There are other examples that I can share with you from work at the APS. This is just an example of the pharmaceutical industry and work that they've done since the APS was founded about 25 years ago, with a number of drugs that have been approved for use for some time in the United States, in part based on work at the APS. And you can see from this slide that the APS, just in the narrow area of biology and its impact on human health, has had enormous economic impact on the world, not only for the United States, but for the health of the entire world. And one thing I always like to joke, although we see none of the profits from these drugs, the profits from these drugs would pay for the construction of the APS, the operation of the APS for many decades, the upgrade of the APS to a fourth generation storage ring, and probably a second facility with plenty of money left over. So this gives you an idea of the way in which these facilities can have such enormous economic impact if they are tailored to be able to serve industry, as is the vision here in Korea. Other industrial applications, as exampled on this slide here, include the ability of synchrotron radiation to study semiconductor devices and semiconductor chips. And the movie that you're looking at shows X-ray work that we've done at the APS that allows us to understand the wires that connect together the devices on a semiconductor chip down to the very, very finest resolution that's possible today with modern lithography. And what that allows one to do is to link the way in which these chips are manufactured to the ultimate way in which the chips are built and any defects that might occur, so that one can then use that information to improve manufacturing processes and to address defects in manufacturing and to understand how one can move to the next generation of semiconductor devices. One of our earlier speakers mentioned that advanced light sources have progressed in exactly the same way that we expect with Moore's law for semiconductor devices. The brightness of these facilities is increased in the same way that semiconductor devices have become much more powerful. And that actually has a very interesting ramification. And that is that the data sets that we produce from the modern synchrotron facilities, are also very large and also increasing at the rate that actually exceeds the rate that semiconductor devices are improving. So one thing that's also necessary to do is to make sure, again, you pay attention not only to the synchrotron radiation facility, but to the other facilities and the other research that's needed to be able to analyze the data that comes from such massive facilities. There's also a nice link to what we do when, in brain research as well. The movie that you see running, of course, is effectively a silicon brain. But there's a very similar situation in the human brain where instead of metal wires connecting different parts of the brain, in the human brain, in the animal brain, of course, we have neurons. And there's a worldwide community that is researching how these neurons connect together and allow communication in the brain to happen that ultimately will help us understand how the brain works, how to understand consciousness, and how to treat diseases of the brain. And the modern fourth generation synchrotron facilities are posed to be able to do that sort of research as well, to be able to advance not only the silicon brain, but the human brain and our understanding of how that works. Turning now to the project aspects of creating a large facility. This is actually a movie of the way in which we are upgrading the advanced photon source in the US. For those of you who aren't familiar with it, this shows a picture of a beamline. The scale of the equipment that you see here is about the same height as a human being. What you're seeing on the bottom is the picture, the simulation of the X-rays that go down the beamline. And now we're moving inside the concrete enclosure that contains the storage ring that holds the electrons that produce the X-rays. And you can see the magnet arrays that steer those electrons around the ring, ultimately allowing us to produce X-rays. So a modern fourth generation storage ring consists of thousands upon thousands of components. And you can see the magnets that we have to assemble to guide the electrons around the storage ring, as well as the devices that produce the X-rays from those electrons. And then now we zoom back out to show how that fits in to the entire 1 kilometer, 1.1 kilometer circumference of the APS. So you can see what a massive engineering undertaking this is. The technology is very well understood. The science of how to build a ring like this is very well understood. That the industrial engineering and the precision with which we have to build a facility such as this is something that one cannot underestimate. It really is truly an amazing engineering achievement and challenge to build one of these facilities. And in fact, if you look at the magnets that we have to put into one of these storage rings to make it work, these magnets around that entire 1 kilometer circumference have to be aligned to about a quarter of the diameter of a human hair around that entire 1 kilometer circumference. And to try to put that into a visual representation that perhaps is a little bit easier to understand, the alignment tolerances that we need to build a modern fourth generation storage ring is equivalent to standing in Seoul, shooting an arrow at a target that is all the way over in Tokyo, that's only 32 millimeters in diameter. So that just gives you an appreciation of how amazingly complex and amazingly complicated these machines are. And it's only together as an international community and through the collaboration across the entire synchrotron light source community that allows us to build such complex machines. So partnerships are very essential to what we're doing. We must have a high degree of collaboration between institutions. We must find ways that we can bring institutions with different expertise together for the common research objective of trying to build these great facilities that allow the reach of our facilities and the reach of our research to extend. To give you an example of such a collaboration that we have had for a number of years in the United States, I mentioned that the Department of Energy operates 5 synchrotron facilities in the United States, with an additional facility, the Cornell High Energy Synchrotron Source, operated by Cornell University in upstate New York. So turning our attention away from the advanced photon source, but to another facility in California, the Linac Coherent Light Source, something that Kwon-jae has been, Kim has been very deeply involved in, and in fact, in many ways is the father of. So this facility, the original facility was constructed a number of years ago, but this was done in collaboration with other Department of Energy laboratories. And in particular, the partnership between Argonne and SLAC National Laboratory, just operated by Stanford University, that now operates the Linac Coherent Light Source, is now working on the upgrade to the Linac Coherent Light Source, LCLS2, is really what's allowed this facility to be built. Stanford, SLAC by themselves do not have the expertise to build such a facility. So there's been a 2-decade-long partnership between Argonne and SLAC that's led to the groundbreaking technology that allows, in this case, a free electron laser facility to be built that really is revolutionary in X-ray science. And we continued that collaboration as well, not only in the construction of the facility, but in the next generation of research and development that will make such facilities thousands of times more powerful than they are right now. Just to give you an example of the sorts of engineering advances that we've made, this is one of the devices that produces X-rays from the electron beam that's used in the Linux coherent light source. This consists of an array of magnets, and as the electron beam moves through the array of magnets, the electron beam undulates, giving off photons. And researchers at Argonne came up with a very clever scheme to do this very differently than it had been done before. Prototyped the original device to demonstrate that it worked, transferred the technology to another partner, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, to develop from the prototype the final design for the system that then was bid out to industry to actually construct the devices that then go in to the LCLS-2 machine. So it's this sort of collaboration that involves multiple national laboratories, universities, and industry that will allow us to have such great success that we envision for facilities such as is being discussed today. There are several keys to successful collaboration that it's always important to keep in mind. Management has to be fully committed to these sorts of collaborations. It requires experienced experts who are willing to work together across distances in teams to be able to advance science and technology. It requires very clearly understood scopes of work at each institution so that as institutions collaborate, they have a very good idea about what they're supposed to be doing for the aims of the overall project. The project has to operate as one team. There has to be a well-defined partnering agreement between the members of the team, again, so that everybody understands their role in the team. And each of the partners as well must understand what effort they need to provide and guarantee to provide that effort. These are very big projects. It requires very skilled project management and excellent project managers to be able to carry out these next generation sources. And this is something, of course, at which Korea excels. And then I can't overemphasize the importance of communication. Communication internally at each institution and between partner institutions, leaders of those institutions, and the sponsors that fund the work is absolutely essential to achieve these projects so that everyone is very clear on what's happening and what the objectives are. And of course, finally, all institutions are different. And it's very important to realize that we come together as institutions in such partnerships because we have different skill and expertise. And the fact that KBSI and Pohang are looking forward to working together on this project, I think brings together magnificent expertise that really will make Korea one of the best synchrotron light source nations in the world. So with that, let me thank you. I wish you the best of luck in this very exciting endeavor, and the United States looks forward to partnering with Korea as we go forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to Director Steven Striepulper for excellent presentation. Because of time limit, we are not going to accommodate questions. I'd like to ask your understanding for this. Let's move to second keynote presentation. For this, we are going to invite Director Tetsuya Ishikawa. Director Tetsuya Ishikawa received his PhD degree from University of Tokyo, Japan in 1982, started research and Riken in 1995. He has been serving as a director of a Riken Spring A Center from 2006 to present. Today, he will give a lecture on the topic Synchrotron Radiation Facility to respond to broad societal goals.
I'm Tetsuya Ishikawa, the director of Riken Spring 8 Center in Japan. Today, I'm talking about the relation between synchrotron radiation facilities and societal goals. As you know, synchrotron radiation is a super intense short wavelength electromagnetic wave, which is an essential tool to explore the nanoscale world. Observation and manipulation of the nano world are crucial for various current nanoscience and engineering, particularly for high-tech industries. Therefore, the social expectation for synchrotron radiation is very, very high. The social expectation for synchrotron radiation facilities are expanding for these years. For example, social expectations for Spring 8 at the inauguration in 1997 were primarily scientific excellence and industrial applications. Major stakeholders were innovators and early adopters from academy and industry. Only the Science and Technology Agency from government, now the MEXT, and taxpayers who consider the benefit of the domestic society. But now, in addition to the scientific excellence and industrial applications, society expects Spring 8 to contribute SDGs, green innovation, social resilience, and even COVID-19. Stakeholders are increasing accordingly. A crowd of early majorities and late majority have entered the academic and industry communities. Additional government sections, including economy, health, finance, social infrastructure, and police, appear as stakeholders. Taxpayers now start considering the benefit of the global society in addition to the domestic society. We have broad societal goals as exemplified by the Sustainable Development Goals, and photon science has the excellent capability of providing solutions to approach almost all SDGs. Here, we show a worldwide distribution of accelerator-based photon science research infrastructures. You can find there are so many accelerator-based photon science research infrastructures around the world. It is because these RIs are supposed to respond to different societal expectations of each country or region. The expectations are often related to widespread industrial and economic activities. The photon science research infrastructures have high adaptivity to a wide range of existing and emerging problems. Since we have many different photon source science RIs worldwide, it is quite natural to have collaborations and competitions. Research infrastructures have many common problems in primarily accelerators, optics, detectors, and control technologies, so that various collaborations emerge among facilities. Here I show two examples. One is a three-way collaboration among large third-generation synchrotron radiation facilities. It started among ESRF, APS, and Spring 8, and Petra 3 joined later. The other one is a five-way collaboration among hard X-ray-free electron laser facilities. Both collaborations hold collaboration meetings every 18 months, discuss common technical problems, and initiate collaborative R&D on various topics. From now on, I'd like to inquire about some concrete examples based on the case of my home ground, Spring 8. The name Spring 8 came originally from superphoton ring ATB, but now many people consider it comes from solution providing ring ATB or solving problems ring ATB. It started user operation in 1997, approximately a quarter century ago. In 2018 fiscal year, we had accepted 2,261 experimental programs. Approximately 20% of them were from industry. We counted 17,000 user visits in the year. Total user visits from the inauguration in 1997 are approximately 300,000. It is the largest shared user facility in Japan. Recently, we compared the achievement of Spring 8 and Sakura by relating to 17 Sustainable Development Goals. We found that each of 280 latest press release achievements connected to 3 goals on average. From this fact, we can say that the photon science research infrastructure are indispensable for accomplishing SDGs in 2030 and may be crucial to the carbon neutral in 2050. Let me show you two examples of activity toward a sustainable society. The first one is the development of various kinds of catalysts. Among them, carbon-fixing catalysts and water-splitting catalysts by using solar energy are of particular importance. These chemical reactions called photosynthesis have been proceeding in plant leaves for millions of years. Recently, we determined the atomic structure of the enzyme called photosystem 2, responsible for water splitting using X-ray diffraction at spring 8. After that, we revealed the chemical process of water splitting using light energy with ultra-fast X-ray pulse from sakura. We can use these data when we design artificial photosynthesis catalyst. The second example is a contribution to the fuel cell design. Fuel cell stack for Toyota Mirai was designed based on the observation at spring 8. In the fuel cell stack, the chemical reaction of hydrogen and oxygen generate electric power, which rotates the driving motor. For the high-efficient operation of a fuel cell stack, it is necessary to discharge micron-sized water resulting from the chemical reaction. Determination of the shape of the efficient water flow channel strongly demanded non-destructive observation of micron-sized water. Toyota Motor Company observed water and FC stack during operation and ascertained the most efficient shape for the water discharge. I understand the synchrotron radiation facility built in Korea is a fourth-generation facility. Although the present Spring 8 is a third-generation facility, we are planning to upgrade to the fourth-generation shortly. The characteristic feature of the fourth-generation sources is their small electron beam emittance. The line-shaped electron distribution in the beam for the third-generation source shrinks to the point-like distribution. The number of electrons is unchanged so that we can get more brilliant light. We can use smaller vacuum duct with smaller electron beams and more miniature electromagnet to keep the electron in orbit. Since smaller magnet needs less electricity, we can use air cooling to replace the present water cooling. In total, the energy consumption will reduce to 2/3 of the present value. Brighter X-rays can speed up the research and development, enable 10 times or more data production efficiency. Undulator spectrum show less tail peak, which makes it easier to utilize pink beams. As I mentioned earlier, as society expectations for synchrotron radiation are rising, the number of users will increase and the quality of users will change. The majority shift from those who want to use synchrotron radiation to those who want synchrotron radiation data. The market designs new products and improves existing products at customers' request and manufactures them from which products and manufacturing technologies are born. The product repeats the cycle of collecting data for evaluation, analyzing it, and moving toward new design and improvement. It is the innovation cycle. Brighter X-rays increase the angular velocity around the innovation cycle and reduce the time for developing product and production technology. In addition, if we can obtain a large amount of data quickly, we can adopt advanced and more accurate data evaluation, such as big data analysis using artificial intelligence, which will lead to advanced design and improvement processes. We have 9 storage rings for synchrotron radiation currently in operation in Japan, UV Sol, Newsbar, and 3 small rings covered low energy region. Photon Factory and PFAR at KEK covered medium to high energy region. These 8 are all second generation facilities. Spring 8 is the third generation facility covering medium to high energy regions. Now, many countries have developed medium-sized third generation SR facilities, causing the declining competitivity of Japan in the medium energy region. Therefore, we are currently constructing a 3GB fourth generation facility in Sendai to recover the competitiveness. We also plan to strengthen our competitiveness in the high energy area by making Spring 8 the fourth generation source. We know the renovation programs are ongoing at our competing facilities. Among the member facilities of three-way collaboration, ESRF in France completed accelerator renovation in 2020, and the APS, as mentioned by the previous speaker, of US is completing the renovation shortly. This renovation cost approximately $800 million. In addition, Petro 3 in Germany is also planning a renovation, and China is constructing a new fourth generation high energy synchrotron radiation facility, HEPS, in the suburb of Beijing. The large-scale synchrotron radiation facilities have opened up the high-energy photon sciences. High-energy photons, and otherwise X-rays, unravel the mystery of many substances from the atomic level. We know many phenomena, how they happen, but don't know why they happen. And to know why is the first and essential step of innovation. The renovation toward Spring 8.2 will significantly reduce energy consumption, but aim for the highest performance in the world. We will adopt multiband achromat MBA technology to achieve ultra-low electron beam emittance. A significant development is how to keep the simultaneous high stability. We use short period undulators investigated both in Spring 8 and Sakura. We use the Sakura's liner for the injector. These lead to significant reduction in energy consumption. Even if we reduce the electron beam energy from the current 8 GB to 6 GB, we can cover the same photon energy range as the current one by using shorter period undulators. In addition, the use of permanent magnet for bending magnet will reduce power consumption. Shutting down the booster synchrotron injector will lead to an additional reduction of power consumption. On the other hand, we will promote bright, high-energy X-rays in performance after significantly improving brilliance. We will keep the stability of beam performance to the highest level. These are made possible by the high level of experience of building Spring 8 and Sakura, and the high level of technology and accelerator element of Japanese private companies. Such renovations are in response to the expanding demands from society. Synchrotron radiation supports science and technology today and opened up tomorrow. We will convert Spring 8 100 times brighter Spring 8.2. For the conversion, we will create new technologies if necessary and advance the existing technologies. The conversion established the cutting-edge research base that contribute to the development of society because the newer facility will be a more vital solution provider. It provides a scientific and technical basis for solving various issues that contribute to the wealthy life, good health, and longevity, and safety and relief required by society. One example as application to social infrastructures. We haven't applied synchrotron radiation to this field. However, since this field consumed many resources, the integration of slight improvement results in a considerable saving. We can evaluate the cost of processes with scientific or technical rationale. What synchrotron radiation can do for this field are contributions to deterioration and break of the structural materials, deterioration and break of the road pavement, reliability, evaluation of new processes, energy-saving processes, and anti-corrosion and rust prevention, and minimum life cost. And energy and environment is a big issue for the sustainable future. They are the main target of green innovation. We have already mentioned the photosynthesis catalyst and fuel cell stack before. However, what synchrotron radiation can do for this field extends broader and more profound. We have many items to develop in the recyclable energy region, including solar cells and photocatalysts. We have many things to do toward hydrogen production, hydrogen infrastructure, and hydrogen applications, including fuel cells, toward hydrogen society. Another critical target in this field is carbon recycling. We should convert carbon dioxide from industry to fuel, materials, and food with chemical engineering. For nuclear energy, Japan Atomic Energy Agency is using Spring 8 for the preparatory studies toward Fukushima decommissioning. Okay, when I entered the synchrotron radiation business 40 years ago, I realized one observation by myself is much better than 100 of learning. However, only observation is not good, but we need to use our brain. One consideration is better than 100 of observations. And one action is better than 100 of consideration, and one result is better than 100 of actions. And finally, many results lead to your happiness. I believe the synchrotron radiation should be the light that makes all of you happy. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much for that insightful presentation, Professor Ishikawa. Last but not least, we have Professor Kim Kwang-jae from the Argonne National Laboratory. He has a BS in physics from Seoul National University in 1966, and from University of Maryland in 1970, he got his PhD in physics. Until 1998, he worked as a scientist at the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, and since 1998, he has worked at Argonne National Laboratory. At the moment, he is an Argonne Distinguished Fellow as well as a professor at Chicago University. Today, he will give his presentation under the title of Synchrotron X-rays, Current and Future. Please give him a big round of applause.
Good morning. Do you hear me? Okay. I'm really glad to be here. And also, I'm really honored to be speaking such excellent previous two speakers. Also, their talk, because of their talk, I think I can shorten much of my talk also. So I would like to give an overview of synchrotron X-rays and rough situation, current and future stages of these synchrotron X-rays. 1/10 of angstrom or 10 kilo electron volt. And it is intense. Each electron can radiate about 1/100th of photons. Since there's 10 to the 10 electrons in the electron beam, one electron beam can radiate 10 to the 8 photons, which is very intense. However, this normal bending magnet, if without any modification, because this cone will sweep around as it bends, it cannot accept in small angular divergence, which is difficult to manipulate. So the solution is a so-called undulator, which is a periodic magnetic device through which electron makes more or less linear motion to the forward direction, but small oscillation imposed upon it. And because of this, it emits in the forward direction with the angular divergence, which is about 10 times smaller than 1 over gamma. So it's a few few microradian angular divergence. And the electron X-ray wavelengths are determined by wavelengths of a magnet. So undulators has typically 100 period, number of the period, and then spectral bandwidth is reduced from, for the 10 kilovolt photons, reduced from 10 kilovolt broad bandwidth to 100 electron volt bandwidth. So much. So all these photons are compressed into this narrow bandwidth. So therefore, comparable increase in spectral brightness. Undulators were originally built out of electromagnet, but electromagnet, you cannot build very strong electromagnet undulators with a short period. The revolution came when Klaus Horbach in 1980 invented undulators based upon permanent magnet. And this is the basic structure, and this is the model. This is Klaus Horbach, and a young person is admiring Klaus Horbach. So this is basic structure of the undulator using permanent magnet in Klaus Horbach's design. These are magnetic poles, and these are very strong back in order to stabilize magnetic flame, because the overcoming strong magnetic force. And this is the device which gives a very precise control in the gap. With a permanent magnet, one of the most high performance permanent magnet is the one developed at Spring 8, Dr. Ishikawa's laboratory. It's Cryo permanent magnet undulators. And this is green curve here, magnetic field in terms of Tesla as a function of the undulator period in terms of millimeters. The ultimate performance can be obtained using superconducting undulators. And this was recently developed at the APS group. First, niobium titanium superconducting magnet, which is already constructed and used in use for the user operations. And also, they are making a prototype titanium tin superconducting undulators. And this will give the best performance so far. And this is the outside of superconducting undulators. And Steven Stryper has shown this new innovation using very simple coil type gap devising device. Okay, so about this, both two previous speakers has made an excellent presentation about this. But in short, the properties of a synchrotron radiation: continuous spectrum, high flux, high brightness, and coherence, and radiation spectrum from infrared to the X-rays, as well as a unique time structure, namely the X-rays are produced in short pulses, provide really quantum vision of organic and inorganic materials. With using these synchrotron radiation, you can do lithography to make nanostructures. You can do imaging to take nanostructure images, but also you can plot potential energy surface of this complex material in terms of the general coordinate. And based upon this, we can understand the quantum mechanics of these materials, and so therefore quantum visions. And using this quantum vision, we can understand materials of complex materials much better, and with this understanding, we can manufacture materials with desired properties, as explained very extensively by both previous two speakers. So in this view graph, I want to illustrate the impression of how far the synchrotron radiation, using synchrotron radiation, we have how far advanced our understanding of materials. So X-rays was first discovered by Röntgen, and Röntgen invented this X-ray diode, and this diode has a brightness curve somewhere around here as a function of the year. So Röntgen discovered X-rays slightly before 1900, and then use of the synchrotron radiation exponentially increased the brightness, and using the wigglers, bending magnet, and undulators. And while this development, there's also advance in storage ring technology, which is very important in making this brightness high. And we are now approaching the era of 4GSR. Early stages of synchrotron radiation, they were parasitic to the high energy physics storage ring, but now we of course use dedicated rings optimized for application of X-rays. Already using the X-ray tube before the invention of synchrotron radiation, these X-rays were used to find remarkable material properties. One of the striking examples is the diffraction pattern of a DNA molecule taken by Rosalind Franklin in 1951. And this is the basis of James Watson, Crick, and Wilkins in 1962 Nobel Prize, in which double helical nature of the DNA was illustrated. Now compare this picture to this picture, and this is mapping of a ribosome at atomic level, and this was obtained using APS beamlines, and with this. These authors, Jonas Stites and Ramakrishnan, obtained 2009 Nobel Prize. So this is, with this structure and function of a ribosome was clarified. We know that COVID-19 vaccine is using RNA material, messenger RNA, and those RNAs are in the ribosome. Okay, now I want to go a little bit more in the properties of X-rays. X-ray is, first of all, wave, and wave has coherence properties. This means that the wave diffract. Diffraction means if you try to confine the wave to small scale, it does not like it and it diverges. And the divergence angle or diffraction angle is inverse to the transverse dimension and proportional to the wavelength. In other words, the product of the size and the angular divergence is about wavelength. More precisely, RMS size and RMS angular divergence of a completely coherent radiation is lambda over 4 pi, where lambda is wavelength. And this product is called radiation emittance. And this relationship is nothing but Heisenberg uncertainty principle. If radiation is emitted by a collection of electrons, namely electron beam, the radiation emittance is a convolution of radiation emittance of the one pure radiation plus electron beam emittance. Now, if electron beam emittance is much larger than radiation emittance, then all the coherence is lost. So therefore, it's not very bright. Since radiation emittance lambda over 4 pi is very small, we have to have a very small storage ring emittance in order to be able to fully take advantage of X-rays. So that's where this fourth generation, third generation synchrotron radiation is synchrotron storage ring is coming from. Now, why can't we make electron beam emittance 0? So we have an electron storage ring, and in electron storage ring, there has to be bending magnet to bend the electron beam in a circle. In the bending magnet, if electron in the bending magnet, there's a synchrotron radiation emitted, and if there's a synchrotron radiation emitted, then electron beam energy reduces, and smaller electron beam energy has a different orbit than original electron orbit. And so therefore, in the bending magnet, electron beam orbit is a collection of a different orbit. So therefore, that causes finite emittance. In order to improve the situation, we have to limit this dispersive region. And the way to limit this dispersive region, the basic idea for this was invented by Rene Chessman and Ken Green in 1970s. Their idea was to split bending magnet into two and then put some quadrupole, and they can, by this way, they limit the dispersive region into this small space. Otherwise, this dispersion will go around the ring, and emittance will be very large. So you can also split magnet into 3 magnet, then it's a triple band magnet. Current, most of the third generation machine is either double or triple band magnet. So from this consideration, you can almost see that if we split this into more and more magnet, you can reduce emittance more and more. And that's so-called multi-band achromat, normally 7 band. So you split this magnet into the 7 unit, and therefore you considerably reduce the emittance. And that's the idea of fourth generation light source. And this was explained in detail by Stephen Stryper as an example of APS from current APS electron beam looks like this to the upgraded APS using 7-band achromat like here. Okay, so by making it 7-band, there's many more technical challenges, but all these challenges was overcome. And also the insertion device, namely undulators, has been also improved, leading to brightness from this red curve to this green and blue curve, effectively about 500 times enhanced brightness. It's a huge enhanced brightness. So this is other examples of 4GSR. It's shown by both Stephen and Tetsuya. The examples of Spring 8 and the Europeans and the Chinese and so on. And here we are now here for the start of the Korean 4GSR at the KBSI. Okay, so Korean 4GSR, I was told, will have 800 meter circumference and 58 picometers. If I'm more ambitious or I'm more greedy, I could have made this to 2 kilometers. Why not? But it's optimum performance in 10 to 30 kilo electron volt. So this is the performance of the bending magnet and the undulators here. And it can reach up to 100 kilo electron volt. And this will be operating synergistically with a PLS2 and the PAL XFEL. Okay. Lastly, I want to talk about a topic which is not entirely connected with what is synchrotron radiation source. It's more about temporal coherence, and this will be the direction we are going after 4GSR, after the 4GSR. So maybe 10 or 20 years later, more like 10 years later, maybe. So temporal coherence, a single wave train is a fully temporally coherent single wave train as I drawn here. Now, this wave train is of finite length. So, for example, single electron undulator radiations wave train has a n sub u wave period. If we have a collection of electron beam radiate, then these wave trains, the starting point are not the same. They are a little bit spread out. And this spreading out gives you phase incoherence. It is coherent in the sense of diffraction, but the phase of these waves are not coherent. So therefore, when this delta T is of order C times lambda or longer, then the intensity is still proportional to the number of electrons. However, if we can make all these electrons start exactly at the same point, then we have these situations. So all the wave has exactly the same phase. In this case, the intensity of the wave is not proportional to the number of electrons, but number of electrons squared. This is a huge enhancement because number of electrons is of order 10 to the 10. So this is basically how free electron laser operate. And the enormous enhancement of free electron lasers also. So free electron lasers, the first one was operated at LCLS in the Stanford Linear Accelerator in 2009. Spring 8, Sakura operated soon after. And this is a Pohang X-ray FEL based upon 10 GeV Linac. And in this X-ray FEL is a very high gain laser. Namely, the gain from the beginning to the end is about the factor of million. But the brightness enhancement is even more because there's also enhancement in transverse emittances. So in these high gain devices, the radiation starts from completely incoherent beginning, and this noise is amplified by a factor of million to the final saturations, is a quasi-coherent state. So this is called a self-amplified spontaneous emission, or SASE. So all of the X-ray FEL currently operating is of SASE type, but we can also consider X-ray FEL oscillators, in which we introduce X-ray cavity consisting of black crystals. The best one is diamond crystals, such as being produced in Japan. In this X-ray cavity, the X-rays are going around, and each time it goes around, it meets the electron bunch, and there's a continued gain, and electron, the X-ray properties, X-ray spectrum is narrowed and narrowed, and it produces a highly narrow and completely coherent X-rays. And so from 4 GSR brightness, average brightness of 10 to the 22, to the high gain FEL X-ray brightness in the order of 10 to the 25, these oscillator type X-rays will give another 2 orders of magnitude in brightness enhancement. So currently, we are pursuing an R&D program, which is a collaboration between Argonne National Laboratory, SLAC National Laboratory, Accelerator Laboratory, as well as Spring 8, who are providing us with the diamond crystals using Japanese technology. We are currently talking about also collaboration with Pohang Lysos in building mechanical stages for this holding diamond crystal to very high precision. So this is my concluding page. The capabilities of synchrotron X-rays have advanced tremendously during the last 50 years. The advance will continue in the future, serving as infrastructure for the quantum science and technologies for the 21st century civilization. So together with the PLS2 and the PAL-XFEL, the new Korean 4G SR will foster the advanced quantum science industries in Korea. We wish great success of Korean 4G SR construction project. Thank you very much.
네, 김광재 교수님.
Thank you so much. We just heard from Professor Kim. Regarding the establishment and operation of MSRS, we had an informative presentation from 3 keynote speakers. So I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to our keynote speakers. Now we are going to have our panel discussions. In order to arrange the stage, we are going to have a 5-minute break. Those who are joining from YouTube channels, please do enjoy promotional video. We are going to invite you again.
이어서 패널 토론을 시작하도록
So now we are
하겠습니다.
going to begin panel discussions.
좌장을 맡은
So for this panel discussion, I'm going to act as a moderator. I'm General Manager Jeon Sang-mi of KBSI. First of all, I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude to panelists. I'd like to introduce today's panelists. We have Director General Kim Jin-hyung from Chungcheongbuk-do Province.
한국기초과학지원연구원 최종순 부원장님이십니다.
Vice President Choi Jong-sun of KBSI.
충북대학교 신현준
From Chungbuk
교수님이십니다.
University, we have a Professor Shin Hyun-jun.
한국과학기술평가원
From Korea Institute of S&T Evaluation and Planning, we have Research Fellow Kim Eun-jung. And last but not least, through the Zoom platform, we have a Professor Kim Hyun-jung. She is the chairperson of Korea Synchrotron Radiation User Association. So earlier, we invited 3 keynote speakers, and we had insightful ideas from those presentations. Starting from next year, the project to build MSRS will be initiated that will support users and that will have a wide application in industrial sector. That will be the mega research facilities that will be supported from government. Now we are going to have discussions about MSRS. Time is limited, so I'd like to allocate 3 or 4 minutes to each panelist. So first, the MSRS site actually decided as the Ochang, Cheongju City, Chungcheongbuk-do province, and there was the 4 localities participated in bidding. And I believe there is a future development at the possibilities, and that is very great. And I think the role of locality is important in order to properly build and utilize MSRS. So from Mr. Kim Jin-hyung, we are going to hear insightful ideas. Hello, nice to meet you. I'm from Chungcheongbuk-do province. I'm Director Kim Jin-hyung. I'm serving as a head person in this MSRS project. First of all, I'd like to extend my sincere thanks to all the staff members from KBSI for making this event possible. And also my special thanks go to all the guests who will be part of this event. Starting from the last year, there was a preliminary feasibility study for MSRS, and that was successfully concluded in April last year. And that's all thanks to the great support from every one of you in this place. So taking this opportunity, I'd like to extend my sincere gratitude. So the task force team for this MSRS will be established, and also the Chungcheongbuk-do province will provide the necessary support to this end. In May 18th, the Chungcheongbuk-do MSRS, the Supporting and the Promoting Act, was enacted. So the financial support will be provided based on this act. In future, the policies and other related the measures will be in place accordingly. So the site is under preparation. So currently, we are having the groundwork. In upcoming September, and we are going to have the advisory committee to secure additional site, and in December, additional site will be fully secured in order to have further constructions. And we have a high electricity to line, and 140,000 volt is required. So by the year 2026, electricity will be provided, and water and other the basic utilities will be provided by 2023 and 2026 respectively. So Ochang Technopolis, the complex, that is about 140,000, and MSRS takes up about 1/5 of such a site. So that is an industrial complex. So in the year 2023, exactly by the end of 2023, the site will be full preparation, and electricity, the infrastructure will be fully prepared by the year. So we are currently carrying out research subcontracting the project in order to get a clear understanding. And also in upcoming the July, which is next month, there will be discussions in order to build the cluster to have a new industry that will be done in subcontract manner based on the result of research. The research institutes and companies which is related to MSRS will be invited, and a future driving engine will be promoted in this site. In addition, in order to have a technological competitiveness of MSRS, we are going to provide support to SMEs and small and medium-sized companies. And another research is subcontracted last April in order to find out what will be the best the channel to support SMEs. Educational trainings will be provided, and also the test bed will be selected, and cooperation between industry and academia will be promoted based on these measures. The professionals in this field will be fostered and nurtured. In order to promote the use of MSRS, additional budget should be secured. So all this data from subcontracted research work will be used in order to secure budget. When we have 10 MSRS facilities for the operation, we are going to have the massive amount of accumulated data. So DNA center, data network, AI center, in other words, will be established. So in the May, we initiated a project, and by the end of this year, this project will come into full shape. The infrastructure will be studied, and also the optimum DNA center will be established based on the consultations with the related stakeholders. So I have a lot to cover. We believe that in 10 years' time, we are going to operate this 4G SRS in full swing. So we are going to consider the expected demand from users and the industry. So Chungcheongbuk-do province and Ochang will need to come up with the expected use cases, so that based on that we can have a full preparation. So Ochang will be world class, the science city. That will be the mission of Chungcheongbuk-do province. So basically, Chungcheongbuk-do province will provide a site and also carry out various research work, and DNA center and MSRS application center, and also test beds, the trial center, and all these will be created. Based on that, we can have a better use of MSRS. And as I mentioned earlier, we are not going to spare any effort in order to nurture and foster experts and professionals in this field. So Chungcheongbuk-do province will be engaged in this effort. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director General. We believe that there will be a full-fledged support from the Chungcheongbuk-do office. With the direction forward with the synchrotron, it is important that we listen to the user's voice. So today we have the Korean Synchrotron Radiation Users Association. We would like to hear from them what will be the policy that is a must in terms of this 4G synchrotron. I would like to ask Professor Kim Hyun-jung on this point. Hello? Can you hear us? Can you hear me? Yes. I am the chairperson, Kim Hyun-jung from Kosuwa. I would like to express my gratitude to all the organizers for your hard work for this first ICMSRS, including the President Shin Hyung-sik of KBSI. Of course, I would have loved to be there in person, but I would like to ask for your understanding that I am joining online. Now we have passed the feasibility test, and with the excellent performance of the 4GSR that will be built in Ochang, I hope that it will be a facility for many scientists and industries going forward. In particular, the attention of the people, especially the scientists on this new synchrotron, is very high. And at the moment, Pohang is taking applications and for the using of the synchrotron, and it is increasing by every quarter we are getting more than 100 cases applied. So it is true that we need to have a new synchrotron to share this burden. And during the progress that we were initiating this project, we found that there were a lot of similarities, and we gathered consensus among the feedback of the users. And I believe that this technological review that we have done for this project feasibility test, this will help the future direction of synchrotron that will be built in Ochang. Therefore, I hope that there will be a plan or system that will accommodate a lot of different feedback from the users. And also, with a successful building of the facility, we need to closely cooperate in terms of human resources, expertise, sharing expertise, and the exchanges, technical exchanges are very much needed. And to this end, we need a consultative body to facilitate such interactions and interchanges. So we ask for a systematic approach in terms of the interactions between experts and industries for a better use of the synchrotron. Thank you very much.
네, 감사합니다. 김현정 기자님.
Thank you. We just heard from Chairperson Kim Hyun-jung. From the perspective of users, she shared insightful ideas. So MSRS can be used in the various fields such as new materials and part and bio semiconductors, and second, the batteries. This is a mega-scale research center. We have a Professor Shin Hyun-jun from Chungbuk University. He was involved in various research activities in Pohang Accelerator Laboratory. So let's invite Professor Shin to hear about what is a differentiating factor of Ochang MSRS and what is our expected result in the field of research and industry applications. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm Professor Shin Hyun-jun from Chungbuk University. So you just raised a question, and I have a very broad answer to the question. And every one of you have a great understanding about MSRS. And so, well, I'd like to share some examples, technical examples, in order to enhance your understanding. So XLA is widely used. So at hospital, we have the X-ray, the photos, and also we have a non-destructive, the tests. And well, in those cases, we use X-ray. And President Shin Hyun-jun actually mentioned this. It is important to produce high-quality X-ray, and they can be used in order to analyze the product properties. And that is widely used in order to have a new discovery in this field. But I'd like to talk about the product properties. At universities and research centers and industries, and well, many people are involved in order to develop new materials. In order to develop new materials, and the product property should be analyzed, and there are various kind of equipment to carry out that, and MSRS can be used. And X-ray is at the essence of that. In order to enhance efficiency, the X-ray is used in many different devices. So across the world, more than 30 the SRS facilities, and there are more than 30 beam lines. So every day, more than 1,000 beam line is used. So there are 52 weeks a year. So well, approximately about 50,000 or 60,000 outcomes can be generated, and those are significant the data indeed. But still, by centering on the technological power countries, the more than 10 facilities are currently under development, and also they are upgrading the existing facilities. So, well, it is important to secure such a capability. MSRS has a great efficiency. That's why the technical power countries, they have heavy competitions in order to secure a high number of such facilities. They compare to other facilities. Ochang has three different aspects. In Pohang City, in the strength of X-ray and the emitted amount of X-ray is rather small. But in Ochang City, we do not have a great flux and even flux in every energy field. But compared to that of Pohang, the Ochang has quite a strong flux. So about the 100 kilovolt and the X-ray can be used. So in that case, our result can be 1,000 and 10,000 stronger. That's why Ochang facility can have the research activities that cannot be carried out in Pohang. So I took an example of a new material the production. So there are various tests in order to test the quality and property of new materials. So the tension test and tear test and various tests should be carried out in order to develop new materials. So in a wide variety of tests, Ochang facility can be used. So MSRS in Ochang has such a great the benefit, medium energy and the tender energy that is actually located in the middle way, and that is the 3,000 kilovolt energy. The new materials and the aluminum silicons and phosphorus and the copper, which are quite important in producing silicon, and those can be tested in this field. So we can have new the developments. The second characteristic of Ochang is, actually the spread of the ride can be very small. That is about 1/10 of the existing ride. So we can make the small size of ride. So the hair is about 50 nanometer, but if we can produce 1,000 of that the thickness, then we can have great research outcomes. Nanoscopy and nano research works can be done in significant manner. So that can be applied in many different fields. Because time is limited, I cannot share the full example. So based on that, when the new materials is developed, there can be the uneven samples can be created, so we can have a research and analysis regarding that. And when there are the changes in environments, there can be some changes in properties as well. So all these changing properties can be analyzed by using the facilities in Ochang. The time is very short, so I need to skip a few examples. And also interference can be studied anyhow. In Ochang, of course, the Pohang facility make a great contributions, but compared to Pohang, in many different fields, more accurate data can be generated, and in real-time analysis and tests can be done. And the space is quite ample in Ochang the facility, so some space can be allocated in order to provide support for new drug developments, and also based on the close collaborations with other organizations, and the solar cell development can be studied as well. In order to enhance the function of a solar cell, the functional materials can be included in midway. And also regarding semiconductors and the oxygen vacancy that matters, so we can analyze the properties regarding that by utilizing Ochang MSRS. And the secondary, the cell, when it comes to the charging and the process and the charging process. And in order to have accurate data, this MSRS in Ochang can be used. The last, in semiconductor, very thin film is produced. So in order to analyze the property of that, MSRS in Ochang can be used. And we invited 3 keynote speakers earlier to hear about the benefit and application of MSRS. And regarding application of a beam line, we have a bright future. So the device will spin around. So we have the great precisions regarding beam line. So that will spin around and the 400 accuracy can be further enhanced. We have a great hopes regarding these facilities. Anyhow, I'd like to level my talks with this. Thank you.
네, 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Professor Shin.
오창의 방사선과
In Ochang, the synchrotron, the excellence of the synchrotron was reviewed by his remarks. The synchrotron from 2020 to 2027, hundreds of billions of Korean won, will be injected with the national budget. And in last May, the feasibility test was passed to secure the feasibility of this project. So today we have research fellow Kim Eun-jung from KSITEP, and she will talk about what are the criteria for a successful construction of the synchrotron and what are the conditions that as we go forward. Thank you very much. I am Kim Eun-jung from KeyStep. It's a great honor to be here, and thank you for the invitation. At the end of April, the feasibility study has ended, and we are right now constructing the final report. And at the moment, I'm working on the proposals on the policy. And it's a great opportunity to share with you the policy proposals. In the process of feasibility studies, there are some areas that we need to tackle in terms of a successful construction and operation of the synchrotron. So after the feasibility test and the final report, there should be some areas that we need to check upon when we designate the business and the project to other stakeholders. In the construction of the synchrotron, there can be some issues that arises, especially in things like delay in the completion. And for this reason, we need to have a group that will lead this project that has an independence from all else. So this is a vast project, but the planning and the revision of the planning is quite rigid at the moment. So we need to have a lot of technical revision from a lot of experts, so that there could be a flexibility, that could be a formal room for flexibility in terms of the project progress. And the construction planning itself was reviewed under the feasibility test. Therefore, we need to have more details in terms of milestones and so on, and the performance target should be accurately established. And this target, how we're going to measure the performance, should also be detailed, and thereby coming up with the success probability, higher success probability. And to enhance the usability, this has to look into the demand and creating the demand of the synchrotron. And Professor Kim Hyun-jung mentioned that there are many scientists who are interested in this project, and that I was very happy to hear that. However, from my research, I understand that we are still short of a full and better understanding of what synchrotron itself is. And to this end, we need collaboration and help from Pohang Accelerator Laboratory because they have more experience in this regard. And one of the most worrying points were the human resources aspect, that we are short of experts and human resources. So we have to look into this aspect in terms of gathering good quality human resources. And if we are short of people or experts domestically, we should also look outside to attract international experts as well. In the past, in the Korean mega-sized facilities that were successfully constructed, we don't have that much of a success case that we can refer to. Therefore, looking into this Osong MSRS project, we are looking into a lot of different references, and all the references point to the fact that we need a good project team, and also we have to verify the uncertainty by different phases of the project, and we need experts' advice. And also the MSRS, in terms of constructing the MSRS, I hope that all these elements could be taken into consideration. And last but not least, when I was doing the research and study, the MSRS is not only supporting the research area, but also the industry. And that was talked about a lot in terms of our study phase, because it's not only about verifying if this is for a real use in the industry, but also the issues of a public government funding of different industrial projects, whether or not this is justified. And already Japan is using a industry dedicated beam lines, so this could be an example that we can refer to. So we would have to take into consideration that there are worries that it might not be an equitable use to different industries or different industrial projects. So when we look into the industry use, we have to come up with a system that could equally or fairly match with the industry participants. And the Pohang synchrotron that is already in operation, with the collaboration with Pohang Accelerator, we would have to come up with new ways to garner more interest and attract more participation. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So regarding establishment and operation of MSRS, she shared insightful ideas. Last but not least, we are going to invite Mr. Cheongju, the Vice President of KBSI. The role and the vision of this facility will be shared by Mr. Cheongju. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Vice President Cheongju of KBSI. So we are having the first international conference on multipurpose. The synchrotron radiation source is very meaningful to host such event in our complex. The location of the MSRS is about 44,000 kilometers away from this place. And last August, and Ochang was selected as a site for MSRS. And KBSI published the report regarding preliminary feasibility study, and regarding use cases and applications, additional research are going on. So in short, actually ministry have not decided the final governing body for MSRS. So once the decision is made, KBSI will have the RNR, and the additional plans will be established. So after the decision is made by the governing ministry, and we can have a detailed plan. And anyhow, based on the experience and based on the collaboration with Pohang, and based on the collaboration with SLS, the user association, we are going to make a full effort so that this project can have a great success. Even though the time was limited, and I hope that you have a meaningful time here exchanging ideas with experts.
네, 부원장님 감사합니다.
Well, thank you. So we
한국기초과학원은
just heard from KBSI for the successful establishment and operation of MSRS. KBSI will make a continuous effort. Time is limited. So even though the time was short, we had meaningful discussions for the successful establishment and successful operation of MSRS. We had a great opportunity to hear from 5 panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big hands to panelists. Thank you.
네, 이상으로 제1회
Wrap up the morning session of the first international conference on multipurpose synchrotron radiation source. So VIPs and panelists, please follow our staff members. Please move to canteen and have the further discussions over meal.
점심 식사 이후
So after lunch break, starting from 1:30, there will be several sessions about bio, nano, and the policy matters. So I'd like to ask your continuous participation. KBSI YouTube channel will air the afternoon session as well.
오늘 컨퍼런스에
Once again, I'd like to
참석해주신
extend my gratitude to VIPs and keynote speakers and panelists for being part of this conference. My special thanks also go to online participants as well.
그럼
With this, we are going to wrap up the morning session of the first international conference on multipurpose synchrotron radiation source. Thank you.